process will commence. Thank you, Emmanuel. Now, we have gotten the first report from Lagos, and election materials are arriving just a few minutes before it is originally meant to commence. And, well, so far, election materials have arrived. This has arrived, but it's going to commence late, especially if we're taking from that polling unit for a start.
That's what I said, too, that all the places I've drove through, I've not seen any of the officials there. And we must just know that election will hold today. But that place is not too good to see that people have not come out again. And we have to
It's in the heart of town.
Yeah, we have to make special appeal to people again. That if you are watching us at home, start calling all your friends, your children and relatives. We need to express how we feel about this election with our ballots. It is very, very important. And the consciousness on social media is not corresponding with the turnout.
What we see on ground.
What we see on ground. And it's not a good thing for us. We can't continue to push argument on social media, on television and radio. And when it's time for us to decide, we push back again. Whatever thing that it is that is bringing us into that kind of mood, we have to overcome it. It is important for us to overcome it. For instance, if you look at Lagos now, the people need to get really close to government. We must understand the challenge of government so that we will not be too far away from each other. So that any policy that comes on board, we will know where it's coming from. We will know where it's going. But we're far away from government. And that attitude is not limited to only elections. When there are public hearings on important and critical issues, people will not turn up. And the only thing we surface is on social media. So it's not a good thing for us. We need to come out and to vote. We have seen how we are supposed to vote, how the proceedings will go, and how you finally conduct your vote eventually. You know that some of us will not be sleeping until Monday morning. Since all through the night, we've been working as INEC observers. We've been connecting each other and ensuring that this is our duty, this is what we are supposed to do, this is your role, all night up until this morning. And as I also go out to go and vote and commence our work as observers to again, we will have to keep in touch with mobilizing people to come and just cast their vote. The picture I see from Anifo Shekeja is not impressive now.
Okay. All right, let's cross over to Inioluwa Kpokpola now. She is in Lagos, and we will, like I said, when we start Lagos, we'll certainly go, so we get to feel Lagos, parts of Lagos, from Ikorodu to Badagry to Ekpe, Aja, Ikeja, and the Victoria Island, and so on. Now, Ini, good morning. It's good to have you join me now. Can you confirm what part of Lagos you are so we can go ahead?
Yes, good morning, Mike. I'm at Ikorodu, local government.
All right. What's the situation in Ikorodu now?
Okay, right about now, I am at the Aga Ijomu ward in Lagos right now. And I was listening to Emmanuel earlier. He said around 8:29, INEC officials just came. From here, it is quite different because INEC officials were here about after 7. And clearly, they have started accreditation right now. And of course, voters are already going to cast their vote here. So right about now, they actually started early at this ward. I mean, I think it's a turn of tables because right now, it's like the INEC officials are the ones waiting for the voters, like what we saw at the presidential elections where the voters were waiting for INEC for about 1 and 2 hours after, the stated time. But here, they started quite early. And of course, it's impressive because, I mean, nobody expected them to come early. But right about now, INEC fulfilled their promises to come early. And right about now, they have started accreditation and voting here.
Amazing. It's good to know. Although I can't judge from the pictures behind you right now when it comes to the turnout, I'm going to need you to pan around a little so we have a feel of the turnout so far. But talk to us from that window. What's the turnout? What are you seeing? Although the process is just starting.
Yeah. Okay, so if my cameraman can just pan around, you can see there are very few voters here, actually. There are very, very few voters. Like I said, INEC officials are the ones waiting for the voters this time around. So, I mean, and, I'm going on the street, I spoke to some residents and, while some of them are excited about, voting for the governorship, candidate, they are also not impressed, about the electoral process in Nigeria. They are not really optimistic, about voting. Speaking with some of them, they're not really optimistic about voting. So it's quite a poor turnout of voters this time. But like I said, it's just starting. So maybe by 10 a.m., 11 a.m., we'll see, lots of people here, wanting to cast their votes.
All right, Ini, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed from Ikorodu. We'll certainly come back to you as the process gets along, so we get the feel of what's going on and what people are saying, so we can get to hear from them directly what they're saying and what they feel about the process so far. Really nice. Okay, this is a little different from what we got from Anifo Oshe earlier. Election materials and officials arrived far ahead of time, waiting for voters to come, just as we had in Yola and had also in Maiduguri.
And Sokoto.
And so, exactly.
Well, it's either here or there. You can't have a universal, the temperature cannot be universal. This cold air is hot here. And I know very well that people will come out. The thing we need to do is to keep doing what you are doing, keep encouraging them to come out. At times, people will say, okay, 9, 10, let me wait for them to be there, since the other time they didn't come on time. But now the news is that annex officials are out. So, and I believe that people will come out. And that's why we're saying that your fate is tied to this thumb. It's important. We have to express it.
I like the way you say it. This thumb is one of the most important things right now.
Yes, so we have to come out and exercise our right. And as time goes on, we keep understanding the importance of voting. And I know, you kept saying it that let us learn the rope. Let us move at the pace we want to move. Don't bring the picture of what is happening in Russia to Nigeria. We are not Russians. The picture of what is happening in America, we are not. And the democracy we put aside with our own is over 20 years old at times when we talk. So things we do now, things we experience now, are things that we are supposed to have learned. So we don't have to rush ourselves. The president himself realized after 7 years that this law must be passed. But we tell him right from the days he came into office that you need to pass this law. So that's the thing with democracy too. Democracy, instead of truncating it in 1966, by now, if he didn't tamper with it, he really didn't tamper with it.
Would have been far better off.
Would have been far better off.
Yeah. Because we would have tested a lot of things and known that, okay, this is not how to do it. This is a better way to do it.
Yes.
And they would have gotten used to how to clean up and refine ourselves and even our attitude and the knowledge.
In the 50s, I don't think there's any black man in the parliament in the whole of the Western world. But as at that time, we have been having a change of ethnic groups to become a parliament member here in Nigeria. So we will have gone so far in terms of advanced democracy by now.
All right. We'll come back to this. Let's go to Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Our correspondent, Abimbola Baby, is there now to bring us up to speed. Abimbola, it's good to have you join us now. Earlier, when we crossed over to you, we saw the visuals from earlier where election materials were going out. What's the situation now?
Yes, Mike, activities are beginning to build up here at Rivers State. We are presently at the INEC Registration Area Center in St. Andrew's Primary School here in Pere at Port Harcourt City Local Government Area. Now, that is just one local government area out of the 23 local government areas we have here in Rivers State. And then, like I said earlier we had INEC ad hoc officials moving election materials to the various polling units, across Port Harcourt City. And if you can see right there behind me, we still have some ad hoc INEC officials waiting for vehicles that will take them to the various polling units. We have some of them still sitting down, waiting for vehicles that will convey them to the various polling units. Now, at this point, I need to also inform you that at this particular registration area center, we have 11 polling units here. We have 11 polling units here, which means that voting is expected to take place at this particular registration area center. If you can look closely, far down there, you can see polling booths there. INEC, ad hoc officials are set, waiting for voters to come around. I also need to inform you that unlike what we had during the presidential election, there's a little bit different in what we are seeing at this particular spot where I am. Last election, what we saw that happened in most polling units in different parts of the country, we had election materials arriving late. But from what I have seen in this particular place, we have INEC and other officials waiting patiently. Of course, all is set in this particular area, but we are yet to see voters coming. So if you want to compare this to what we had last time, I think there's a little bit of improvement, though it is too early in the day to conclude. But for what we have at the moment, INEC kind of officials at the various polling units we have at this registration area centers, 11 in number, and they are waiting for voters to come in. Mike.
All right, it's a good thing. It's a good sight when you pan round for us to see where the spread. And also letting us know materials and officials have arrived and they are waiting for the voters to turn out and so on. Now, we also like it if you're closer to your camera so that we get your audio very clearly. However, the point there is Rivers State is one state that a lot of people have concern from the issue of insecurity. I wonder what people are saying from what your engagement with them in the area of security in their going to vote today.
All right, activities leading up to this day. I'm talking about 2 days ago. We had the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, in his chat with journalists in Rivers State, where he was assuring residents of the state of adequate security before, during, and after the exercise. I mean, unlike what we had during the last election in Rivers State, we were made to understand that there were pockets of incidences in different parts of the state where we had ballot box snatching, we had voter intimidation, we had violence in different parts of Rivers State, and this, I guess, was why 5 police commissioners were deployed to this particular state to ensure that we do not have a repeat of what happened the last time. And he went ahead to tell us that anyone found trying to foment trouble would definitely have to be dealt with, according to the law. So I can assure you, I mean, coming down here today, from what we saw on our way down here, we saw there's heavy security presence, at various spots we got to. Up until this particular place, we also have the security officials at this particular registration area centers at the various polling units we have here. So I can assure you, Mike, that we are likely to see something different from what happened in Rivers the last time, from what the AIG said a few days ago, assuring residents of adequate security before, during, and after the election. It's really early to draw a conclusion, but of course we begin to feed you with more information as the event unfolds here, Mike.
All right. Thank you very much, Abimbola, for bringing us up to speed from Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Okay, from there, let's go to Delta. Ikenna Mechi, correspondent there, is waiting to give us situation report in Asaba. All right, Ikenna, good morning. It's good to have you join us now. What's the situation in Asaba, in Delta State?
Good morning, Mike. The situation here is quite okay. Quite early, we set out for the day, going to different polling units here in Asaba, the capital of Delta State, and we saw that their officials and INEC officials and materials arrived quite early at a particular point that at particular units we got to. We have a situation whereby we have a situation of material arriving quite early. The officials set up, but no voter yet there, just like not like in the presidential election where we have a lot of people coming out quite early to wait for the officials to actually set up. So generally, you know, Delta State is having a 3.2 million registered voters with 2.8 million collecting their voter cards, and expectedly we expect a good turnout, unlike the presidential election where we have about 600, appalling 600 out of 2.8 million that have collected their voter registration. Just 600,000 came out to cast their vote for the president-elect and, of course, for other aspirant candidates. But this time around, we are hoping that people will turn up to exercise their franchise, and we've seen that INEC are actually matching their word with action by coming out quite early to set up and waiting for electorate to arrive to exercise their franchise. And we're right here at West End Ward, which is Ward 9 in Oshimili South, which is the local government of the capital city. And of course, people are not actually just little people, maybe party agents and INEC official we can see right now in Ogun. It has 2 polling units. The last time in the presidential election, this place is one of the places that we had a lot of people crowded, and of course, you know what that translates to: a lot of fracas, a lot of skirmishes, people not even, you know, they have to wait all day to cast their votes. But we are hoping that the election will go smoothly. We have here in Delta North, we have Delta Central, and Delta Central is where the major contender in the governorship poll, which is Robo-speaking, we are coming from the leading party and from other parties. So we have, as you say, about 500, above 500 and something units that people will come out to cast their votes, and knowing that INEC cancelled 4 units. But we know that definitely we will have a good exercise today. Mike.
All right. Thank you, Ikenna, for bringing us up to speed there. Delta State is one state that a lot of people are waiting to see how the process is going to go. We'll come back to you as we get along, and we'll also like to get the feel of security and what the people are saying from that window. We'll come back, but let's cross over to Ogun. We'll go to Abeokuta now. Ibrahim Shita is standing by to bring us up to speed the situation in Abeokuta. Ibrahim, it's good to have you join me now. My colleague is there. What's the situation in Abeokuta where you have monitored so far?
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you very much. It's a bit, you know, not cloudy. The sun is out. The weather is okay. The climate is really, really favorable. And then I'm at Ward 14, Unit 15 at Omololu, Ibar Housing Estate, Abeokuta. This is where the former state governor of Ogun State will cast his ballot. So if you remember, former Governor Olusegun Obasanjo, the last time he came here for the presidential election, he could not vote. So we are hoping, the residents are hoping that when it comes next, we'll be able to vote. A little earlier, the INEC, the polling officials, they arrived earlier, and the residents were so happy that they came earlier as against the last time they came. It was around 9:30 or thereabout, but today they came around 7:20. They waited for the people. In fact, they came before the residents, you know, began to troop out to exercise their franchise. So a few minutes ago, they did the voter education. 8:30 on the dot, they started. And then everyone is so excited. You can see they have about 1,121 registered voters here who will be exercising their franchise. I have one of the voters is so excited to exercise his franchise today. He's about to vote. His name has been called on the register. Is Adebayo Olakunle. It's good to talk to you. Talk to us about what you see as regards to today's election process.
Today's election is a little bit better than the former one because the INEC official came early, and they were able to gather themselves, set themselves up before the election starts.
Right. So has there been any issue here, maybe issue of violence or some people not following the election procedures, not listening to the INEC officials, or some other issues that could disrupt the process?
The only issue we have here is the beavers not identifying some people, but they are just very, very few. They are very few.
Fantastic. So before they began voting here, after the voter registration, one of the voters raised the objection that, listen, we need to know the number of the accredited voters on the beavers. You need to tell us that the number is on 0 before you commence voting. And the INEC officials, the polling officials told them that they shouldn't worry, that everything is in order. And, so far so good, it's been fine. So we are waiting the former Ogun State governor to come out to exercise his franchise. We'll get to know if he'll be able to.
All right. Well, it's quite interesting. When it comes to the preliminary engagement with INEC officials, with the people who are supposed to vote, they are all supposed to be told, and they have the right to know and assess. All the party agents that are there are supposed to know that the beavers is clean before they commence. You spoke to Adebayo. Has he voted already, or he's about to vote, Ibrahim? All right. I think we have lost the signal from Ibrahim Shita there in Abeokuta, my colleague. All right. From there, let's go to Ibadan in Oyo State, where Sarah Yeku is standing by. Sarah, good morning. It's good to have you join us now. I wonder this morning, although it's too early to have taken some wigiri and the Wedu and Amala, because I understand the Ibadan Amala is the best so far. Talk to us from there generally when it comes to the turnout this morning and the preparation and an arrival of materials.
So we've seen a large turnout of voters, considerably large turnout of voters. Since about 6:30 a.m., we see people in the neighborhood go to polling units closest to them just to sit and wait for INEC ad hoc staff to arrive. Now, where we are at this time is the RAC, that's the Registration Area Center, where distributions of materials commenced about an hour ago. But just a couple of minutes ago, like 1 or 2 minutes ago, the last batch of INEC ad hoc staff just left this particular unit to their polling units, which is one of the issues that some INEC ad hoc staff had raised earlier, that there were logistics issues. Some of them didn't go to their polling units on time. So the last batch just left here a couple of minutes ago. And so this is one polling unit I am at Ikoloba High School in Ibadan, North Local Government area of the state. And I would like to speak with one of the voters. He's yet to vote, actually, but of course, just like most of the voters here in this polling unit, is, of course, enthusiastic to want to vote this morning and vote for the next governor of the state, either the incumbent or a candidate of his choice. Before we talk about, we're not going to be talking about any form of candidates this morning, but I just want to get your perspective as to how INEC has been able to conduct themselves this morning compared to the February 25th presidential election.
I think the process is going on well. There's no problem. Even during the last time, they did well.
Particularly at this polling unit?
Yes, everything went well. And there's one thing about me, I always arrive early, and I always wait for them to count the votes. So I'm helpful there. So, and if there's a problem, I won't be able to do that. Yeah.
So what would you like to say about security? We know that INEC, as the security operatives, has said that they're going to be deploying 15,000 security operatives for this election, Mike. And so I want to hear from you, sir. There were issues of violence on Thursday here in Ibadan. What would you like to see the security operatives do today?
I would like them to go to the trouble side. Because, like this place, we are more of elite side. Exactly. So they should go to, they know the troubled area. They know the black spots. So they should go there and maintain peace over there. So that is what I expect them to do.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I hope the beavers gets to see your face and recognize your fingerprints. So, Mike, of course, people get up. They are, of course, out early to want to vote at the various polling units. And so what we see right now is the security operatives have been escorting the INEC ad hoc staff to their various polling units, although apart from the earlier logistics issue that they had as to for transportation, apart from the transportation issue they had had earlier this morning, there seemed to be nothing wrong with the process so far. So you see that the voters right there are queued up, are lined up. Election observers are also around the polling units. Some of them are checking their names on the list over there, and but some persons are complaining because in this registration area, that's in this school, we have 3 polling units. These 2 polling units, this seems to be has the largest number of voters, because as you can see from the pictures there, the number of voters on queue waiting to vote. But something very interesting, Mike, is the fact that they allowed party agents vote first. I don't know why. Maybe they are allowing them to do that so they can go mobilize other people to come out to vote. Mike.
It's interesting how people are, the enthusiasm so far from the person you spoke to earlier who is waiting to vote. From his expression, it tells you he's really very happy to vote. And I also see behind you some election observers who are coming there to view what's going on. I believe you get to speak to them, and they also let us know what they feel, what their assessment of the process is so far. Sarah, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on this. We'll certainly come back to you again as we get along. All right, let's come back to studio. Razak, we spoke to Bimbo in Port Harcourt. We also spoke to Ikenna in Asaba. Now, before we come to Oyo State, Rivers and Delta State are states that people have concern regarding issues of
apprehension.
Exactly. There's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of anxiety. What is going to be like? Because in the build-up to the election today, there were concerns as to what there could be violence and so on. What do you see?
Well, as we run the process, I'm getting happier and happier. Mike, we'll get there. This country is...
I like your enthusiasm.
This country is great, and it's going to be great.
All right.
We know very well now that it is a waste of time to perpetuate any violence on the day of election.
Yes.
And the more we move further, the more scientific INEC will become. Up to a point where even the voters, we may not meet again, as we are converging here.
Right.
You vote, go, or in the comfort of your room. We'll get there too. Right. So we are not going to live our life in isolation as a nation. We are part of the rest of the world. And that's why we have to be tagging along. Even if we are not going to be at the same speed with the rest of the world, we have to be tagging along.
But at least there's a movement.
There's a movement. We must not continue to be a burden to the rest of the world. We must make our contribution too.
All right. We'll come back to this. Yeah. Now, you're watching Decision2023 studio, where we're covering elections across the country. We've received reports from Maiduguri in Borno State. We received reports from Niger State, Sokoto State, Adamawa State, Rivers State, Delta State, Lagos, Ogun State, as well as Oyo State. We have many more states to go. We'll be bringing you reports from the southeast as well and the north central. So you get a feel of everything that's going on across the country, how people are preparing to vote. Let's go on a short break for some messages, and then we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you see, as a day now, they call me, but no be me show. That's how some business owners will have a different name on their business account from the actual business name. Listen, don't let your customers be suspicious of your business. Sign up for a business account with Money Points and get an account in your business name in minutes.
whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker. Open a bank account in your business name with Money Point.
Become your best self with new and exciting data plans from 9 Mobile. Visit www.9mobile.com.ng or any of our 9 Mobile Experience Center.
9 Mobile. Here for you. Here for Ninja.
All right, you're watching Decision 2023 studio on TVC, and we are covering election as we always do. Nobody covers elections like TVC in Nigeria. And we're bringing you reports from across the country, letting you know what the situation is. All right, we have a guest in the studio who has been helping us to make sense of some of the things we're looking at. Razak Olokoba is here with us in the studio, and we are also looking at things. Now, let's go to the southeast. We're crossing over to Umuahia in Abia State. Our correspondent, Solomon Ajiziogu, is standing by there to bring us up to speed. Solomon, good morning. It's good to have you join us. We're receiving reports from across the country. In some places, election materials arrived very, very, very early, about 1 hour ahead of time. And then there are others that they're just arriving and setting up. So far, what's the situation where you are?
Well, Mike, unlike the 25th of February presidential and National Assembly elections, where everything here started late, and you remember that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, did point out, did specifically talk about Abia State after our report about the late arrival of materials and the late commencement of voting in Abia State generally. But today, it's a very different scenario, I must say. Unlike the last time, is a centralization of the rack points, of the movement points. And so within this area, we have different racks, and the logistics have been so well planned. The first set of vehicles that set out from 7:49 this morning, and before 8:30, the polling officers have already set up here. The little delay we had starting with the voting process here was because of the late arrival of party agents. The polling officers did say that they are not going to be able to start any, and so they waited 9 a.m. The last time, no voting started earlier than 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock even, but this time it's a bit different.
It's quite interesting. The visuals we're seeing now, a little earlier visuals, but we see that just like you said, there seems to be an improvement when it comes to logistics. But talk to us from the window of security. There were concerns about the insecurity situation or violence in the southeast generally. I wonder what you have seen or what you're hearing.
Here, for the presidential elections, Umuahia is peaceful for the governorship and state assembly elections, even though it's a very tough and tight race between amongst the contestants. But here, people are going about their business. There is no security worry, at least in Umuahia and a lot of places around here. You must understand that some of the challenges they had during the presidential election also has claimed the scalp of the red here in Abia State. And so the administrative secretary and his officials at Umuahia INEC office have decided to step up and do things differently so that they can get a different result than what they got in February. So far, it's been peaceful. People are patient here. Well, unlike the last time when people came well before the materials, it seems it's the materials that have come much more earlier than the people. The people are on the queue here, but it's not the sort of crowd we saw here the last time. And that's because, well, the voters came early. Maybe based on that experience that the materials arrived late, on the 25th of February, the voters haven't turned out here as early as they should. But some are here. The crowd that we usually witness in this particular place of one, the crowd is not here yet. Maybe by the time they hear this, that the electoral officers are there, they have set up, they have taken the beavers. So far, you can see the queue right behind me. There's been no incident at all, and the thing is going on, the voting is going on seamlessly.
Thank you very much, Solomon, for bringing us up to speed. We're really delighted to hear how peaceful and calm things are in Umuahia, where you're monitoring already. We'll come back to you as we get along to follow up with the process as we get along. Now, from Umuahia, let's go to Nasarawa State, where correspondent Godwin Agwam is there to bring us up to speed the situation there. Godwin, good morning. Nasarawa State is seen as a battleground, a very strong battleground with the gladiators, fighting each other there. Talk to us, what's the situation of INEC so far, the arrival of materials, and the commencement of voting?
All right, thank you very much, Mike. As you can see, I'm standing right in front of polling unit 10, 11, and 17 of Akruba Ward in Lafia local government area of Nasarawa State, where we could see that the voters are turning in their large numbers, as against speculations that there will be voter apathy. Looking at the fact that in the build-up to the election, there were a lot of threats on social media of violence, but I think the voters are not yielding to that, and they are turning out in their large numbers to exercise their franchise. We could see security operatives also at the polling unit on hand, and ensuring that everything is going peacefully. And I can tell you that election materials have arrived here at this polling unit in this place. And the electoral officers here, the polling unit agents, and everyone are putting everything in place to ensure that accreditation and voting commence in earnest. We have some electorate here who will be willing to share their views with us. Please, can we have you? Please tell us your name. What's your name?
My name is Gideon Ochidi.
Okay, how do you feel seeing that election materials have arrived here as against what happened at the presidential election?
Well, I think at this particular time it's better than the presidential election. The material is on ground already, and they are preparing everything for us to start to vote now.
Are you satisfied with the level of security presently against what we were hearing before the president before the governorship election?
Yes, I think everything is security-wise. I think it's okay now. Even the people, the securities are already on ground, and we are trusting God to see how the election will go peacefully without any problem.
Right, thank you very much. Please, let's also have you. Let's have one other electorate who is here to exercise that franchise. Please, can you tell us your name, ma'am?
My name is Egamata.
Okay, how do you feel coming out today to seeing that the election materials have arrived to your polling unit early as against what happened at the presidential election?
Today's on is earlier than the other one because the time when we came, they brought the material around 11. But today, you can see before 8, the people were around, and they are trying to put things in order. And by the grace of God, the place is calm, and despite all utterances, people are aware of how to calm themselves and go out to vote for their rights.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, Mike, I can tell you for sure that the people of Nasarawa State are full of life, they are full of vigor, they are full of strength, and they are ready to exercise their franchise. I can tell you that Nasarawa State, against wide speculations that there will be violence, is peaceful, and the people are going about exercising their franchise. And about the voting and the accreditation is about to commence here at this polling unit 10, 11, and 17 here in Lafayette local government.
All right. Godwin, I'll still come back to you shortly. Stay online. I'll come back to you. Now, reports just reaching us from Katsina State said that 3 persons have died and 3 persons were injured when the convoy of the governor of Katsina State is involved in an accident this morning. We're just getting that report right now. We understand that those who are injured have been sent to Malum Fashi General Hospital for treatment, and we're trying to get more reports and updates from the scene and the scenario, because the point there is, well, we understand the governor is safe and many of his aides are safe, but we understand 3 persons have died and 3 persons are critically injured, and they've been taken to Malum Fashi General Hospital for treatment. We'll certainly bring you up to speed with the details of that report, and we can also get a statement from the government regarding that. But we understand the governor is safe, and we'll bring you more updates in that regard. Now, Godwin, let me cross back to Godwin. Nasarawa State is quite an interesting state in this election because of the gladiators there. I recall during the presidential election, we had a time with you where you took us around the state, talking to us the factors that will impact the voting process, the voting patterns, and all of the things that will go into why people are going to vote in a certain way and in a certain direction, as the case may be. Now, talk to us basically, how are these gladiators, because now that they are trying to outsmart each other with the issue of canvassing for vote, how is that impacting on the issue of security? How are they doing that either peacefully or otherwise?
Well, I can say for now, although it's too early to declare that the election will be totally peaceful, but at the moment, we would say it's peaceful, and the gladiators seem to be exercising restraint in terms of the kind of words they are churning out to their followers at the moment.
All right, it seems we have lost the signal from Godwin Agwam in Lafia, in Nasarawa State. Our correspondent there bringing us up to speed but there's a large turnout so far. In fact, behind him, we could see a large turnout of voters who were queuing up to exercise their franchise by voting for the candidate of their choice already. We'll cross back to Godwin as we get along. Now, recall that moments ago, we told you that the convoy of the governor of Katsina State, Aminu Bello Masari, was involved in an accident, and 3 persons have been confirmed dead so far. We understand that there are 2 police officers and a nephew of the governor were involved from the reports we're getting. And then we also understand that 3 persons are critically injured, have been taken to Malum Fashi General Hospital for treatment. So far, we understand the governor is safe, and we will certainly bring you up to speed with more details as we get them and as they come to us. Now, that is a sad story so far on election day like this.
He gets our condolence. May God give him the fortitude to bear the loss. And that's not a good thing for him. So for what is on ground today now, by the time you go back to all those places that look scanty before, I think this is the picture we'll be having. We'll be having the picture of Nasarawa, because Nasarawa is looking very, very impressive.
I know so far from the visuals we saw.
Yes, I know that people are taking their time to come out. They want to ensure that they eat solid food that will take them into the night or anytime they want. So, and that preparation is important for them, not for any other motive, but just for them to be able to see to the end peacefully. And that's the mindset of the millions of Nigerians from what we have seen in the last 3 weeks up until today. You know, I said earlier that we became very disappointed in ourselves as a people. There's nobody I come across that does not express that. And why are we like this in this country? Why are we not turning out for election? And as a result of that, that was going to inspire people to come out. You will see, you'll be amazed. The election will be very, 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 very participated. This one that you see, Mike, I can assure you. And I told you that as I was coming, I see people out waiting for INEC officials. And that is what we should be seeing in all elections, particularly when we are getting to a point where people realize that it's a waste of time to think you are going to get people to office by violence or by coercion or by inducement. In fact, this election...
Those days are over.
Yeah, this election is only the violent aspect that we cannot eradicate totally. But the whole question of money, I went round. People say they pay. I say, how did they pay? I didn't see anybody paid. Because in the past election, you hear rumors, you see a snippet of evidence. But when we get that as observer, they always become careful. But this time around, how do they do it? Where is the cash? There's no cash. When you go to bank, they give you 5,000 naira. Is that how? So it gets into a point where it's manifesto. It's your experience. It's who you are. Can you perform? And by the time we fully get into that mode, we are good. That's why I say, so you mean I'm always in the happy mode when election time comes. Because it is a time where people who are aspiring to become polygamists will realize their aim, that this is a president that's coming to build the economy for us, to be able to have. So it's a time for merriment. Exchange of what my candidate will do for you, exactly. What your candidate. So it's a time we should be happy. You know, a few months to the election, people start buying tickets to go out of the country and come back later again. It's only without talking to them that where you are going, the price they paid is what you don't want to pay here. The peace you want to go and enjoy there.
Exactly. It's what should have been here.
So if you have to stay, and it worked. It worked. So, and it's going to be working. I know I'm going out now. I want to go and vote and start our exercise. And from the network of what we have put on ground across the country, we'll bring people out. You have to vote. Your leader, you must take part in who becomes your leader, who's going to lead you. That's it, Mike.
All right. That's fine. Now, let's cross over to Adedoja Salam Adeniyi, also from within Lagos, to bring us up to speed with the situation there. Adedoja, good morning. It's good to have you join us now. Can you confirm to me what part of Lagos? I need people to know where you are so that we get the feel of the reports and the situation there.
Macaulay Ward, where Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu will be casting his ballot alongside his wife, Claudiana Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu. Now in Lagos, there are 18 candidates vying for the governorship position and 40 State House of Assembly candidate seats. Out of 18 candidates for this #1 citizen seat in Lagos, only 3 candidates are considered front runners, and they are Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Gbadebo Rose-Vival, and Jide Adediran. All eyes are on Lagos, no doubt, looking at what happened in the presidential election last time, where what happened was actually unprecedented in the state. Let me quickly take you through some history. Now, Kazim, please come with me. In Lagos in 2007, this is not the first time that the state will be having a 3-horse race. In 2007 in Lagos, Babatunde Raji Fashola, Musiliu Obanikoro, and Jimmy Agbaje actually ran for the governorship seat, where Babatunde Raji Fashola polled 599 votes, beating his closest rival, Musiliu Obanikoro, who garnered just more than 300 votes. So today's election, all eyes are on Lagos. They want to know what will happen, because Lagos is also one of the states that people are looking forward to what will happen. But I must tell you that people are eager to vote here today. We've seen people coming out, and I've seen a number of youth. And you know that the youth topped the INEC distribution chart of 37 million. That is out of the 93.4 million people that registered for this election, 2023 election. The youth tops the distribution chart of INEC with 37 million. And in Lagos State, for instance, it's 6.2 million people that have registered, that have collected their PVCs in Lagos. And when you look at what happened in the last election, that the total number of people that voted in the last election is just about 1.339 votes. And inside it, we have invalid vote, which was 1.2, and of course 64,000 invalid votes and 1.2 valid votes. So in all of this, what we are saying is that the number of registered people that have collected their PVC, you cannot compare with number of people that eventually came out for that election. That was in the last election of a presidential election. That means 4.8 million people stayed back in their homes, and then they are not bothered to come out. But I think that momentum has changed. People are eager to see what will happen here. Despite the fact that the governor is not here yet, we've seen people voting, and they are so eager to cast their ballot here. The electoral officers have been here since 8:30. I know that the election commenced here around 9 a.m. and we've seen a number of them that have actually voted. Now, people will come here with their PVCs. Very, very important, because every voter must go through the beavers. Yes. So, and then they will be accredited with either the thumbprint or they go through the facial identification to authenticate them for the voting. And that is actually section number 47 of the Electoral Act of 2022 amended. So these are the words I'm looking for. But I must tell you at the same time that security is beefed up in Lagos. I cannot really tell you the number of security men that are deployed for this election. I've spoken with the Commissioner of Police. I spoke with him yesterday. I spoke with him this morning to give me the accurate figure of security men that are supposed to man the 57 local councils in Lagos State. But he told me that he has a good number of them across the state.
Roger, you have given us great statistics and taking us memory lane of what Lagos used to be and so on. It's really interesting to understand the background of the character, the voting character in Lagos, and it's really nice. The enthusiasm, we can feel it right there from behind you and your engagement. We can see the enthusiasm from the people there, the process and going on is really nice. Now, talk to us from the perspective of, recall that in the build-up, the last few days, there has been concern regarding the issue of violence and insecurity in places within Lagos and all of that. I wonder what you're hearing and what you're observing so far, whether the people have some level of anxiety or it's just enthusiasm to vote.
Yes, I must tell you that one of the reasons that people stayed back, 4.8 million people stayed back in Lagos in the last election, was about issue of security. Some people are just skeptical that they don't know what will happen at the end of the day, that the election might result to violence. But the police have come out several times to debunk this, that it's not going to happen like that. Even though we recorded some pockets of violence in Lagos State in the last election, we remember the woman that was stabbed in the face and some other violence that actually occurred in the state. But this time around, the commissioner of police told me categorically yesterday and this morning that a good number of security men are across the 57 local councils of Lagos to man security. And I've also seen policemen around the state. I must tell you that when we're coming this morning, I saw joint security forces on the road along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and they barricaded the road. You have to be identified for who you are. If you're on essential duty like myself, you must have a form of identification before you can be allowed in Lagos to pass through. The roads are deserted. And of course, I've seen people here, there is this enthusiasm to come out to vote in Lagos, more than what we recorded in the last election of the presidential election 2 weeks ago.
Right, Doja, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. We certainly will cross over to you, especially when the governor comes out to vote, so that we can have a feel of what the messages are and how the voting process is going on. All right, recall that earlier we brought you the breaking news that the governor of Katsina State, Aminu Bello Masari, his convoy was involved in an accident, and 3 persons have been confirmed dead. 2 of them are police officers, and 1 of them is said to be the nephew of the governor. And 3 others are critically injured and taken to Malum Fashi General Hospital in Katsina State. And we understand the governor is safe, and the others are also safe, but we'll bring you visuals. We'll be bringing you visuals of that as we get along, and we'll also get you details of what really happened and so on. We'll certainly bring that to you as we get along, as we bring piece all the information together. Now, joining me in the studio, my senior colleague is here, Yuri Folari, and he has been monitoring the situation as well. We started from Maiduguri, and we got reports from Maiduguri. The place is peaceful. People, in fact, we understand that election materials and officials got there 1 hour ahead of time from the places that our correspondent monitored. It was peaceful. We also went to Niger State. We went to Sokoto. We went to Adamawa, River State, Delta, and all of that. It tells that generally the outlook has been good so far.
Indeed. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
And good morning also. Yeah, just as you say, the big concern, I thought, was improving on the presidential, exercise, the presidential election exercise. And there you see that there was lateness in INEC arriving.
Exactly.
That has reduced, but it still is something of a challenge. Earlier, you were talking about Anifoshe in Lagos.
Yes.
Here.
That was the first place we went to in Lagos.
Yes, it's very close to us. And they, have not started at 8:30. Even though when we spoke with the resident electoral commissioner in Nasarawa yesterday, he had said that everything, all stops have been pulled out to make sure that this was an improvement. Well, it is an improvement generally, but one is a bit
still
concerned.
Not there yet.
One is a bit concerned. We're thankful that we've made progress. And this is where perhaps all these commentators now get in on the act, because when we have stated that it'll start at 8:30, everybody's going to sort of adjust themselves towards that 8:30. But as you say, so far so good. And it's terrible news to hear about the governor's convoy over there.
Exactly, really sad.
And especially as there were fatalities involved. But here we are. I've been monitoring you as well, Ayodele and all the other people, talking about preparations. So far, so good. The governor hasn't come out, but I wonder what the challenge is that INEC couldn't be at those places that it wanted to be at, in order for us to start at 8:30. I heard you observing that, look, it's one thing to arrive, then you have to now set up.
Exactly.
You have to set
exactly.
up.
It takes a while to set up.
It
And
does.
even the register, you have to paste them for people to come check or verify their names and so on. So it takes a little while.
But, well, it is what it is. I think we had
Razak
Olokogba saying, don't compare us with anybody. Just we're doing our best, and so here we are. And as you said, well, it's the Decision2023 studio, and just like you were observing, nobody does it like TVC. It shall be round the clock. We'll be at just about all the polling stations that we can be at. And well, I've just been enjoying your coverage, so maybe I'll just let you continue.
When the veteran is here,
we are here together.
When the veteran is here, who am I?
We are here together.
Now let's cross over to my colleague Nifemi Oguntoye, who is also in Lagos, to bring us up to speed now. Nifemi, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. It's exactly 1 hour after voting and accreditation started here. And just 6 people have voted. I heard you guys talk about it's one thing for INEC officials to arrive. It's yet another thing also for voters to get ready for the exercise. Now, I can confirm to you we're at the polling unit 085 Ward F in Alawusa, Ikeja, and this is where the President-elect Bola Tinubu is registered to vote. We expect him to come back here. This convoy had just arrived here. He voted here on the 25th of February for the Presidential and National Assembly election. And unlike 3 weeks ago that INEC officials arrived here 1 hour after voting ought to have started, I can confirm to our viewers that INEC officials got here with election materials at about 8 a.m. and the presiding officer did confirm and did open voting and accreditation at exactly 8:30. So it's a situation of waiting for voters to arrive. Recall that in this particular polling unit, about 324 registered voters are here. In the last election, only about 43 of them were accredited. That's some 13% of registered voters. But we're waiting for the president-elect to alight from his vehicle and is expected to also cast his ballot just like he did some 3 weeks ago. Well, it's a busy site here, as you can see. Mike, security operatives are here. The commissioner of police himself was here earlier. Well, that's the president-elect alighting from his vehicle exactly 9:34 p.m. 9:34 a.m. to cast his ballot, and you can hear the cheers from those who had followed him and who are also cheering him up as he approaches. He has now approached the cubicle where he will get accredited and also cast his vote. The process is expected to be quite easy and fast of the procedure.
All right, Nifemi, from the visuals we're seeing where you are, they seem like a large turnout, although we're not able to reconcile whether it is because the president-elect is voting there, so there's a lot of people, entourage coming there, or it is people who are coming to cast their ballot, who are going to vote. But we see a large turnout of people there so far, and it's quite encouraging. Let us assume that all those persons being out, even if they are not voting in that polling unit, will be one way or the other, will be involved in the voting process today. All right, it's quite encouraging to see that people are coming out. Although this crowd here, we can't confirm if all of them are voters or if some of them or all of them are entourage.
Well, exactly, exactly the point. Well, Nifemi, does Nifemi want to come on again?
Yes. Now, Nifemi, talk to us about. Are you able to sieve? From your observation, are you able to sieve that crowd to know if they are voters or if they are entourage?
I mentioned earlier, Mike, that before the arrival of the president-elect, only 6 voters have been accredited and voted in this particular polling unit. So the crowd you're looking at are possibly those who have followed the convoy of the president-elect. 324 voters are registered here to vote, and we're still, well, there's still so much time. It's just 24 minutes before 10. The presiding officer did say that voting will go on here until 2:30. Hopefully we'll get more of the registered voters who have their PVC come out this morning. But we'll check the figure. There is no queue, before the arrival of the president-elect. It is usual that when he comes around, that it comes to quite a number of people, Mike.
Expected, I must say. But observe for us those who are voting, you mentioned that only about 6 persons have voted so far. Among the number of those who are voting, what's the balance when it comes to women, and so on? Can you give us an idea of that?
Well, you know that when it comes to election, it's a large turnout of people, election observers, journalists, security operatives. We have the Rapid Response Corps, the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Command, the NSCDC officials, even the NDLEA. And when you look at that put together, there is an even distribution of women. The woman in charge of the RRS here, the person is in charge of the RRS is a woman. The INEC officials also have an even distribution of female representation, and quite a number of them are also, well, the president-elect is expected to join us now very quickly, Mike. Let's just try to arrange that so that we can also get his opinion as to how the process went. But as to your question earlier, Mike, quite a number of women here. I can't tell you precisely the number that I've quoted, but women folk are well represented here.